Today, we're going to be taking a look at what myself and hundreds of other video editors think is the best editing pack for DaVinci Resolve. The whole goal of this pack is to cut out those annoying repetitive editing tasks, sometimes saving you hours on a single project. Not only that, but these tools look really good, so they add a level of professionalism and consistency that's really hard to get on your own. You'd be amazed at how easy it is to get amazing results right from the edit page with drag and drop tools. Plus, they're all built on my powerful Anim Engine framework, meaning you don't need to use keyframes to use animations. I released this pack almost 2 years ago now, and since then pretty much every tool has been updated to the point that the original just looks like a kid's toy. And the best part is I offer free lifetime updates, so even if you bought it day one, you have all of the new features that we're going to talk about today. This pack is called the EditorCollection, and right now it has 24 different tools, all with their own unique purpose. And each of those tools don't just have one look, they're designed to be highly customizable so they can fit into your style. And on top of that, they have a powerful user interface, making this customization fast and easy. There's also a free version of the pack that has a few of the tools for you to try out. So in this video, we're going to dive into the pack and look at some of the tools and how they can fit in your workflow and save you hours. Plus at the end, I'll cover some of the most asked questions I get about the pack. One of those questions right away that I get all the time is, are there tutorials for the tools? And the answer is yes. Each of the tools has its own tutorial, so you can learn exactly how to use it. In this video, I'll just be giving a high-level overview of the tool, since the videos do a really good job of going in depth. Now let's look through those tools, and I'll be saving some of the really good ones for the end. First up, Whip Animate is one of the most powerful tools in the collection. It allows you to create advanced animations right from the edit page without using any keyframes. Before we cover that, let's talk about this Anim Engine framework that I mentioned earlier. It powers most of the tools, so that means you don't need to learn a new system for each tool, and they all have the same high level of customization. First, at the top, you can customize when it animates. So if you don't want it to animate out at the end, all you have to do is click that one box. Right below that, you can change how long the animation takes. So if I want it to take 1.5 seconds, I can type in 1.5. I can also set this to be custom, so I could take it 1.5 seconds to animate in, but only 1 second to animate off. Then using these anim offset controls, I could tell it to wait a second before it actually starts animating. So it waits a second, takes 1.5 seconds to animate, and then takes a second to animate off at the end. It's really cool how easy this is to do. Then finally, at the bottom, you have some of these easing controls. So I can choose between any of these presets for the in and out curves, or I can set the curve to be custom so I can make my own easing curve right from the edit page. Pretty awesome, right? Well, I'm not done. Let's take a look at how this integrates into Whip Animate. In this tool, at the top, I have customization to move it around, change the size, all of that. Where it gets special is down here underneath the global Anim Engine. Under any of these properties, I can press enable and it's going to add that animation right away. It'll add in a bunch of controls so I can really fine tune the animation. And all of this is linked up to these animation controls so I can change how long it's going to take to animate. Where it becomes really powerful is when I stack different animations. So if I wanted to animate the position as well as the size, I can do that in 2 clicks. But what if I don't want these to animate together? Right now they're both linked to the same Anim Engine. Well, under any of these controls, there is this unlink animation button. So if I unlink the animation on the size, it's going to add in its own Anim Engine that only affects that control. So I could set this to wait 0.75 seconds before the size starts to animate. This means that it's going to slide up and then scale up once it's on the screen. And I have a bunch of different animation things I can do. I can animate the rotation, the aspect, I can add in some shake, blur, and glow. All of those can have their own separate Anim Engine in the one clip. I can then take this even farther by adding in a middle animation. This will give it some constant movement throughout the entire clip. If I want to be really fancy, I can enable loops, bring up the loop count, and even add some easing. That way you've got a bit more of a playful feel. It also has some built-in masking that can also be animated, as well as the ability to add in a drop shadow or a outline for PNG files. And it has its own special version of motion blur, meaning it renders way faster if not in real time. Let's look at 2 of my favorite and most used tools in the pack, Whip Zoom and Whip Pivot. On a basic level, you can create zoom animations with the Anim Engine, plus do stuff like a continuous zoom throughout the clip. They have an effect version that either goes right on the clip or a generator version that goes over the clip. The generator is my favorite because it's super visual, you can see it on the timeline, and you could put it over multiple clips without having to match those settings. Where this thing becomes really powerful is when you pair it with another tool, Whip Pivot. So let's say I add Whip Zoom to my timeline and set it to zoom down into the left corner. In the inspector, I can customize all of the animation settings as well as add motion blur, which on these tools renders in real time. Super easy to create something like that. What I'm going to do is turn off the out animation so that way it does not animate out at the end. Then I'll grab the Whip Pivot tool and place this right after Whip Zoom. In here, I'm going to grab the end pivot and move this up to the top right of the screen. Then what I'm going to do is press this match button. And if you watch the start pivot, it's going to change that so it matches what's in Whip Zoom. So if I press play, it's going to zoom into the bottom left, and then it's going to move up to the top right. In Whip Pivot, I can turn off the out animation, split the clip, and do this again. So I could change the end pivot, move this somewhere else on the screen, press that match button, and now we are good to go. I use this in all of my tutorials to get a zoomed in view, and I cannot imagine doing this thing manually like I used to. A really special tool for me is Whip Highlight, since it kicked off this entire journey of making EditorCollection. This one is actually available for free in EditorCollection Lite and allows you to select something and bring it up into focus. Again, this one works as a generator or an effect, but I can drag it down over a clip and I have this window that I can select what I want to highlight. In the inspector, I can even do something like add in multiple windows. Then once I'm ready, I'll turn off the preview mode, and this is going to have an animated highlight effect that brings them up into focus. And just like Whip Animate, this has all of the anim engine controls built in as well. So on window 2, I could unlink the animation and tell this one to wait 1 second before it animates on. This means the first one's going to animate, and then the second one's going to animate a second later. Then I can customize stuff like all of those background effects to get the exact look that I'm going for. This next one always blows people's minds when they see it in action, and that is Whip 3D Camera. This one allows you to create drag and drop 3D camera animations in DaVinci Resolve. There's really intuitive on-screen controls allowing you to easily reposition this tool. Plus, this tool has really good depth of field that renders anywhere from 10 to 50 times faster than normal depth of field inside of Fusion. And I think it looks quite a bit better. You can also add in stuff like some chromatic aberration as well as scan lines to make it look like it is a screen that we're looking at. This tool also has that match button built in, so that means you can create those multi-point animations just like we did with Whip Zoom and Whip Pivot. And of course it has the anim engine with both a standard and a continuous movement. One that I use all the time is Whip Cam, which puts my camera down in a box in the corner. When I drag this onto a clip, in the inspector it has presets for all of the different corners of the screen, as well as a custom pivot, so that way I can move it wherever I want. Then I can do stuff like changing the size, changing the padding, changing the mask shape that the camera is actually in, as well as adding a outline. Depending on your clip, you might need to go in and reframe the controls, but it has the ability to do that, as well as the anim engine, so you can customize exactly how long it takes to animate down into the corner. This thing saves me so much time. Next up, Whip Background is a collection of controls that allow you to generate really good looking backgrounds. On the first page, you have a bunch of simple controls like making it a gradient, adding in some noise to the background, stuff like that. The overlay page is where it gets really cool because you can remove the overlays, set a grid, lines, or even use a particle system. Inside of all these, you have full control over the size and padding, as well as being able to use different shapes or even your own custom logo. Then from the media pool, you can just drag a logo over into the clip name and it's going to load that into the grid pattern. You can even add in some 3D rotation as well as depth of field to enhance that. If there's too much on here, you can go to the mask section and either add in a rectangle or a blob mask. It makes it really easy to get a nice background to use in your videos. Here is a really simple yet really helpful tool, Whip Blur. With this one, you can choose between 8 different blur styles and add them with one click. The best part about this is it does animate on and off without you having to do anything. Plus, if we switch to the Fusion page, you can add in a mask right to the tool. So if you want to blur out a face or maybe blur part of your image so some text stands out, this is a really good way to do it. Now, a not so simple but really cool tool is Whip Path. If you do any sort of map animations, then you need to have this tool. It takes whatever path you throw at it and draws a custom line between it made up of dots, dashes, a solid line, or you can do custom to have your logo draw the line. Same thing with the starting and ending points. You can have numbers, you can just have an outline, you can have a pin, or load in a custom object. And the anim engine in this tool has been extended, so you can change the timings of each of the elements individually. And to top all of that off, you can have an icon animate across the path. Check out the full video on Whip Path if you want some more information. Whip Marker is going to become your go-to for any highlighter effects. This one has really nice on-screen controls that make it easy to select some sort of text. In the inspector, you can change what type of background it's over so that way it stands out, and change everything about it so we could give it a nice red color. You can see it has this marker point at the end, so that way it looks like the marker was pressed there just a little bit longer, so we can make that part a little bit darker. And we have full control over the displacement, so we can give it some imperfections. And like the other tools, it does the animation for you. Let's look at another really simple one, and that is going to be Whip Shake. This works just like the built-in shake tools inside of DaVinci Resolve, but the nice thing is it animates on and off for you, which is really hard to do with the normal tools. The most recent addition to the collection is Whip Magnify. As a mix between Whip Zoom and Whip Highlight, this is going to take a section of our image and magnify it so it is nice and big. You have full customization over what the shape looks like as well as the sizing of that, and this one also has that match button, so you can create multi-point animations super easy. Whip Panel is really cool because this one has a lot of different customization. First, we can put it on any of the different sides of the screen. Then in the panel, we can either use text, we can add in an image, we can combine text and image, and even use a fusion input. If I set this to be image, there's going to be a box that I can drag any media pool clip into, and it's going to put that into my frame. Then you can customize stuff like the animation, and we have an animated panel in just a couple of clicks. And like I said, this also has a fusion mode, so you can go into Fusion, build your own graphic, and then plug it into the panel so that way it moves with all the animation. It also automatically reframes the media, so that way it is not covered by the panel, and you can customize all that stuff. Last but not least is going to be Whip Text, and this one is very similar to Whip Animate, but instead it works with text. The benefit of this is we can scale it up as much as we want without losing any quality. Under the animation tab, we have all the same stuff for animating the size, position, all of that. Plus, you can even add in a letter by letter follower, so that way it animates the letters one at a time. This is another one that I recommend checking out the full tutorial for. There's a bunch of other tools in the pack that I didn't mention, so to see a full list of all of them and any new ones that might have been added, check out the product page for a preview. This video only begins to scratch the surface of how powerful these tools are. Personally, when I'm editing, I get better animations while saving hours on every project. If you actively edit videos, you owe it to yourself to invest in a tool like this and take back all of that wasted time. And don't just take my word for it. Creators like Jason, Jay, Chadwick from Creative Video Tips, Adam Grasso, and so many more that I'm forgetting to mention all use this tool on their videos. Plus, I get emails and messages almost every day from other video editors that rely on EditorCollection in their projects. You can see some of their perspectives on my website, with the main thing that they all agree on is that EditorCollection was one of the best investments they've ever made. So with my sales pitch out of the way, here's a few of the main questions that I get asked. How fast do these tools take to render? Well, it varies between the tools, but something like Whip 3D Camera is going to take longer to render than Whip Zoom. If you have a decent system, a lot of the tools are going to render in real time. The ultimate goal is that they render as fast or faster than if you created the effect yourself. Plus, that's not including all the time you save by using a template. Most of the tools have Fusion's standard motion blur built in, which does slow the effect down quite a bit. But each of those tools has what I call intelligent motion blur, which pretty much means it's only going to turn on motion blur when it's actually animating, which will end up saving a ton of time when rendering. Another question that I get is, can I save my own templates? The answer to this is yes. I have a free tool on my website called Whip Macro, and it actually works with any edit page Fusion templates, not just mine. When you've made some changes to a tool like changing the animations, changing the font, the colors, you can take that and save it as your own tool that'll show up in the effects library. This is another great way to save time. And the last question, can I install this on multiple computers? The license for EditorCollection gives you unlimited seats for one user, so you can put it on as many of your computers as you want. If you're a business looking to buy multiple licenses, reach out to me and I can get you a bulk discount deal. I have poured hundreds of hours into this pack working on building these tools, optimizing them, and creating tutorials so you can take advantage of them and save time. Not only will this pack benefit you, but it also supports me and allows me to keep making these free videos on YouTube. If you have any questions or suggestions about the pack, leave a comment or reach out directly on my website. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.